feels great.
Alright, here's what she said. After they had a little ceremony at the White House, and then today she's getting sworn in. She said, the confirmation process has made ever clear to me one of the fundamental differences between the federal judiciary and the United States Senate. And perhaps the most acute is the role of policy preferences. It's the job of a senator to pursue her policy preferences. In fact, it would be a dereliction of duty for her to put policy goals aside. By contrast, it is the job of a judge to resist her policy preferences. It would be a dereliction of duty for her to give in to them. Federal judges don't stand for election. Thus, they have no basis for claiming that their preferences reflect those of the people. This separation of duty from political preference is what makes the judiciary distinct among the three branches of government. So what she's saying is senators need to act on what they believe. They need to act on what they believe in. Judges have to put their policy goals aside and be unbiased and just look at stuff. So that, to me, that proves she's a pretty good judge. A judge declares independence not only from Congress and the president, but also from the private beliefs that might otherwise move her. The oath that I have solemnly taken tonight means at its core that I will do my job without any fear or favor, and that I will do so independently of both the political branches and my own preferences. So there we go. Nice lady. All right, let me read you this about the worst. I tried to turn that. My gosh, you can't turn it off. No, come on, okay. This was the election of 1876, the worst election we ever had. The election of 1876, the Republicans nominated Rutherford B. Hayes, the governor of Ohio, while the Democrats, out of power since 1861. Remember this, the Republicans were in the North. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. So they represent the North and the Union, all right? The Democrats had been out of power, and because of the Civil War, all of the South was Democrats. Does that make sense? The initial returns pointed to, that Sam Tilden was picked by the Democrats, the governor of New York. The initial returns pointed to a Tilden victory, as Democrats captured the swing states of Connecticut, Indiana, New Jersey, and New York. By midnight on election day, Tilden had 184 of the 185 electoral votes needed to win. So today it's 270. Back then it was 185. He led the popular vote by 250,000 votes. But Republicans refused to accept the result. They accused the Democrats of using physical intimidation and bribery to discourage African Americans from voting in the South. You think? No kidding. The final outcome hinged on the disputed results of 4 states: Florida, which is always the problem, Louisiana, Oregon, and South Carolina, which prevented either candidate from securing a majority of electoral votes. Republicans accused Democrats in Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina of refusing to count African American and other Republican votes. Democrats, in turn, accused Republicans of ignoring many Tilden votes. Are both of those probably true? Probably so. In Florida, the Republicans claimed to have won by 922 votes out of about 47,000 cast. The Democrats claimed a 94-vote victory. Democrats charged that Republicans had ruined ballots in one pro-Tilden Florida precinct by smearing them with ink. This was all paper ballots, obviously. You wrote on them. There wasn't anything fancy. Both Democrats and Republicans in Oregon acknowledged that Hayes had carried the state. But when the Democratic governor learned that one of the Republican electors was a federal employee and ineligible to serve as an elector, he replaced him with the Democratic elector. Now, what I didn't tell you about yesterday, whoever wins Texas, if Biden wins Texas or Trump wins Texas, they will pick however many. Let me get this down. Let me see.
I think there's a movie about that election you're talking about.
I'm sure there is.
Because Matthew McConaughey's in it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. How many reps? Come on, this is not good. Wow. I guess Texas has 36 reps and 2 senators, so that means 38. So our 38 electoral votes. If the Democrat wins, then those 38 electors will be 38 Democratic face painters. Does that make sense? If the Republican wins, then there will be 38 Republican face painters. And they will go to Austin December 15th, give or take, and they'll vote. They don't have to vote for the person they're supposed to vote for. They usually do, but they don't have to. But it very rarely does it ever flip. So actual people will go to vote in the state capitol as electors, but they're on the same team as the person that won the state. So the Democratic governor learned that one of the Republican electors was a federal employee and ineligible to serve as an elector. He replaced him with a Democratic elector. The Republican elector, however, resigned his position as postmaster and claimed the right to cast his ballot for Hayes. So the guy quit his job so he could vote. Florida, Louisiana, Oregon, and South Carolina each submitted 2 sets of electoral returns to Congress with different results. To resolve the dispute, Congress, in January of 1877, established an electoral commission made up of 5 U.S. representatives, 5 senators, and 5 Supreme Court justices. That's never been done before or since. They just kind of made that up. If there's a tie in electoral votes, it goes to the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives picks. But if a state can't come up with a majority, so like if Texas can't get one person to win, what's a majority of 36, 15, 18 votes, 19 votes. If neither Biden or Trump can get 19, then Texas forfeits its votes. So if there's a tie, it does go to the House of Reps. The justices included 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and Justice David Davis. Come on, parents. David Davis, who was considered to be an independent. But before the commission could render a decision, Democrats in the Illinois legislature, under pressure from a nephew of Sam Tilden, elected Davis to the U.S. Senate in hopes that this would encourage Davis to support the Democrat. Instead, Davis recused himself and was replaced by Justice Joe Bradley. Bradley was a Republican, and he was considered one of the court's least political members. In the end, however, he voted with the Republicans. A Democratic representative from New York, Abraham Hewitt, later claimed that Bradley was visited at home by a Republican senator on the commission who argued that whatever the strict legal equities, it would be a national disaster if the government fell into Democratic hands. Bradley's vote produced an 8-7 ruling along straight party lines to award the disputed elector votes to Rutherford B. Hayes. The result produced such acrimony that many feared it would incite a second civil war. This all sounding kind of familiar? All kinds of corruption in both sides, ripening and civil wars and stuff. Democrats threatened to filibuster the official count of the electoral votes to prevent Hayes from assuming the presidency. At a meeting in February, this is February after the November election, February 1877, Democratic leaders accepted Hayes' election in exchange for Republican promises to withdraw federal troops from the South, provide federal funding for internal improvements in the South, and name a prominent Southerner to the president's cabinet. When the federal troops were withdrawn, the Republican governments of Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina collapsed, bringing Reconstruction to a formal end. So, see, there's always been horrible, stupid times, and human beings always mess everything up. It's not that different today. We just have TV and phones and all that kind of stuff. All right. Outside. Let's see if we have time to play. We might. I'm gonna promise fun at the end. We'll have fun at the end. You're on tape. That's time to have fun. You have fun at the first, and you have fun at the fourth. You got all kinds of stuff. Remind me of me back. All right. Already did it. All right, let me read you this. Article 2, Section 1 is what it should say. Did you say Article 1? It should say Article 2, because Article 1 is legislative. Article 2 is executive. Article 2, Section 1 says, the President is the chief of executive branch of the United States. Oh, I'm sorry. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. How would you describe that? How would you describe that statement? The executive, or say here. Tell me what that means. Tell me, say what that means. The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. How would you describe that? Detailed? No. How would you describe that word or that phrase? Vague. It's not specific at all. It really doesn't say anything. It just says executive power shall be vested. Now, an executive. The president is the chief executive. Have you ever heard that word before? Where have you heard that before? What's a CEO? They run a business, right? If I say executive or chief executive officer or CEO, what do you picture in your head? Somebody in some corner office with a suit. And they got phones and they got, what kind of look do they have on their face? They're like one. Hey, get me! I mean, they're always in a bad mood. And they run the show, right? President is the chief executive of the executive branch of the government. The president. You have to look it up there, home slice. I got you. Look at you, bit. Why would you put your phone, your purse on the very front corner of the? See, you don't need it though. You don't need your phone. What's that? Just walk. The president. Congress makes the laws. The president is in charge of making sure stuff gets done. Does that kind of make sense? The president is in charge of making sure government stuff gets done. They hire people to do work within the government, and they fire people if they don't do the job. What if this Justice Barrett is an idiot, which I don't think she is? Can the president fire her? No.
She's sworn.
Is that good? That the president cannot fire a judge?
Yes, ma'am.
Because if the president could fire the judge, what would the judge be worried about? What the president thinks about it. And wouldn't be free to make their decisions. That's what Justice Barrett was saying. I'm free from the Well, okay. All right. It's okay. We'll forgive you. Lincoln's supposed to leave. All right, let's jump on here. Commander-in-Chief. You could put it's dumb. Commander-in-Chief. That is dumb. Commander-in-Chief. What does the president do as commander-in-chief? We talked about this.
Declares war.
Responsible for military decisions.
Even if he doesn't make it.
Does the president make every military decision? No, but he's responsible for every military decision. Coach Cook is not always with us on Thursday nights with junior high, but he's responsible for what happens at the junior high games. Even though he's not there and he's not doing stuff, he is ultimately responsible for what happens there, as the football coach. President is responsible for all military decisions. The military does things. He has advisors. He's put people in place. He has a defense secretary that all answer to the president. Can the president declare war? No.
No, he has to go through the.
Congress can declare war. President can send troops out. Matter of fact, go out to how do you know? Never mind.
He can make it a war.
Yeah, could do some stuff to do. Foreign policy. Whenever you hear foreign policy in this room, actually anywhere, you need to think of two words.
Foreign and policy.
Security, economics. Every decision we make in regards to another country is always going to come down to security and economics. It's going to come down to trade and money, and it's going to come down to just military security. We're either going to make decisions that make our country safer, or we're going to make decisions, bless you, that makes our economy grow. Can you make a decision that helps your economy but hurts your security? Yeah. Can you make a decision that helps your security but hurts your economy? Yes. By the way, there's another peace treaty announced between an Arab nation and Israel last week. The Sudan, which is a northeastern African country, mainly Muslim, signed a peace treaty with Israel. That's 3 countries in the Middle East that signed peace treaties with Israel. That's a big deal. You probably didn't hear about that. That's a pretty big deal. And the president is in charge of foreign policy. What is the president in charge of? What department is in charge of that?
No, it's the people literally have foreign relations.
That's the Senate. What department in the executive branch deals with foreign countries? Secretary of State. The State Department. That department is under the president. Secretary of State works for the president. Coach Cook is responsible for volleyball. He doesn't coach volleyball. He hires somebody that knows volleyball, but he's responsible. The president may not know anything about foreign policy, but the president hires somebody that knows about foreign policy and puts him in charge of it and tells them the stuff they'd like to see. I don't know our Secretary of State right now. He switched a couple years ago. I don't know who it is. That's embarrassing. Huh, I should know that. You looking it up, home team? Thank you. There used to be a guy, his first Secretary of State was the guy that used to run Exxon Mobil. Never worked in government in his life. How do you feel about that? As the leader of Exxon Mobil, did that guy ever have to deal with foreign governments? Every day?
Michael
Pompeo. Okay, Pompeo. I know him. Okay, but I didn't know he's Secretary of State. Okay. But somebody out, if you don't think about it, that we just picked an oil guy. Well, yeah, that guy has had to deal with foreign governments and come up with negotiations and deal with other people. So that makes some sense. President Obama's, I'll told you this, last defense secretary was never in the military. Is that okay? Remember what I told you about him? He worked at the Pentagon for the Defense Department for 25 years. So he was never in the military, but he worked within the military for 25 years. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Okay, diplomacy. What do you remember that word? Diplomacy, diplomat. If you're a diplomat, I told you this earlier in the year, what are you doing?
You're in charge of one, like they send you, you're like the guy that's talks for them.
You deal with foreign countries. Diplomacy is negotiating between foreign countries. Will you listen to something I said?
I just can't remember, is it the XYZ affair? Is that when we have like 3 people go?
Right, yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't.
I told y'all went over this at the house.
Yeah, so that's good. We don't talk diplomacy between foreign countries.
Well, no, that's something we did Saturday, you don't probably.
There's always a game on or something. A diplomat, like when you talk about ambassadors, we send ambassadors to countries, and they live there, they stay there, they work in the embassy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, within the political party, this is not always true, but all right, I'll say Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. Reagan was Republican, Clinton was a Democrat. As president, can you get any higher office in America than president? No. So you are considered the leader of your party. Reagan was the leader of the Republican Party. They went along with what he said because his re-election, he won every state except for Minnesota, which was his opponent's home state. That's pretty good. That's like, I mean, you won every electoral vote except for like 20. So that's over. When that happens, you have a lot of political power because obviously people want what you're selling. Clinton was the leader of the Democratic Party. Most times, the president is considered the leader of their party. Would you consider Donald Trump the leader of the Republican Party? No, not even a little bit, because he's not really a Republican. And there's a lot of people that like him, but there are a lot of Republican Party politicians who can't stand him and work against him. Yeah. So usually the president is the leader of their party, but not always. Not always, but usually they are. To be president. What's up, Clinton?
Huh?
What's up?
I was telling that if Clinton get
He did, but all he did was lie under oath to a jury.
that's it.
That's it.
No,
The economy was great, and it was only sex. Who cares about that? I mean, you should be able to just sleep with whoever, whenever, all the time. So that's not a big deal. See that sarcasm? You know that sarcasm. All right. To be president, you got to be 35 years old.
Have we had any president?
The youngest president. All right. The youngest elected president, I think,
Was Obama, wasn't
was Obama, and it might have been real close with Kennedy. George Washington was pretty old. The youngest president we ever had was Teddy Roosevelt. He became president as vice president after McKinley died. He was like 39 or so. I think Obama and Clinton were both low 40s when they were elected. 35 years old. You have to be a natural born citizen.
What number does this go on?
The qualifications for president? Yeah, 6.
No, I got you.
And you have to have lived in the U.S. for the past 14 years. Why would they throw that in there?
You can't just come in.
Say you went off and had a job somewhere, or went to school somewhere, and you lived in Europe, and then you can't just come back and run for president this year. They wanted you to have been around and seen what's happening and kind of know what's happening and been up to date on stuff. Now, could Barack Obama ever be vice president? How many terms can he be president? 2. He served 2 years. So as vice president, could he ever step in and be president? No. Jimmy Carter could. He's at 96 right now. He served 1 term as president. I don't think we want him to be president. He didn't. It was tough. That was a tough time back then.
He just started signing.
You've seen him on King of the Hill. Well, I think we have an agreement in principle here. Because Cotton and Hank were fighting about stuff. Isn't that weird? Cole thinks I'm Hank Hill. All right. President gets $400,000 a year. 2000 and back, they got $200,000 a year. It doubled that year. $4,000 a year is how much the president gets paid. Is that a lot of money? For y'all, yes.
No.
To be president of the United States, is that a lot of money? No. I think I got that down to like $45 an hour.
Okay, I know people got over around here that make money.
Yes. Now, that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Is the president ever off? You're never off. They go on vacation, but you're still the president, and there's still daily briefings, and there's still stuff. I mean, the world doesn't stop.
I don't know why Trump was there.
This is why, no matter who the president is, they don't want to destroy the country. Because you would not, like Donald Trump, he's rich, or he was rich. I don't know if he's still rich, so he just spent a bunch of money on it. His whole life, okay, he's been a businessman, but there's a lot of times in his life where you can just decide, here's what I want to do today. Once you're president, can you do that? No. Your life is ruined. Day one, as president, your life is completely changed and completely ruined. And your family's life is completely ruined. So I have to believe you would not do that. Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, George Bush wouldn't do that if they didn't feel like they had something to offer and they wanted to fix stuff. You know what I mean? Even if you disagree with them, they're choosing to. It's like one of the ultimate sacrifices. It's almost like going to the military. Almost. Because you are putting your family on the line. There is if he had like a teenage son, that teenage kid, you think there's some people around the world that like to get a hold of that kid and torture him and kill him and stuff? No. You're putting that kid in danger. You're putting your life in danger. You're putting your family in danger. And you're jacking their life up. They can no longer go do what they want to do. Barack Obama there was some criticisms one time because somebody, well, he has not been to church since he became president. Well, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. For the president to go anywhere, like say the president showed up at a church, they would completely ruin the church service. You'd have to, all the security and all the background and all the, just, so, I don't blame the president for that, for not doing that. Yes, LBJ in the middle of Vietnam said, I'm not coming back. I will not accept it. Most of them do, at least run. But I've always said I can't imagine a worse job. Because no matter what you do.
What about the oil field stuff you used to do in the tank?
Yeah, but
Oh,
it
frac
went
tank?
4 years, 24
But I could
hours a
stop
day.
doing that. And
You can't
after
stop
it's
it.
done, 98% of the people could look and say and agree, that's a good job, or that's a crappy job. If you're president, you do something, half the people hate what you did, no matter what. And no matter how thick-skinned you are, after a while, that's going to get to you. That constant pressure. Look at pictures of presidents when they start and presidents when they leave. They age. Like Barack Obama, when he started, young, and then when he left, oh my gosh, he aged 20 years in 8 because of just the stress and you get notes and letters about where you killed my family because we didn't have a job because of you, and you know, you get these messages all the time. It's like, God, it's got to be a beat down. And no matter what you do, you can never get caught up. There's always 50 billion things to do, and you can't get to half of it. So only 25 billion things can you get accomplished in your time. You get to live in the White House, so you get free rent. Now, imagine your dream house. Because you do get to, I think if they want to watch movies, they'll bring movies to them. They can't go to the movies. They usually will put something in there that you like. Like, I want a weight room. I'm sure they put a weight room in there for me. They don't have a weight room. They've got machines. They don't have weights. I've seen who the presidents are, and they ain't lifting no weights. They know squat. They might have something. I want a squat rack, an actual squat rack in there, and I want weights and dumbbell. I want to be able to do stuff. Not,
That'd be nice too, if you get new ones.
yeah. It's all good.
Get out the bus, dude.
But even if, let's say you got everything you wanted in this house, you're trapped there. And after a couple months, you would get to hate it. Because you just want to leave. I told you what President Bush's favorite thing to do as president was. What did you know? When he went to his ranch for like Christmas time, they would seal everything off and check everything, and he could just drive around his ranch. And he would just drive. Because it was the only time he got to be in control of anything and go where he wanted to go. You get free rent. You do get Secret Service protection. Not just when you're president.
Sweet.
Yeah, let's go with you, man.
They do.
They have more than one set.
Yeah, they do.
They don't just.
Yeah, the guy, after 2 years, he's like, but yeah, when you leave the presidency, you continue to get Secret Service protection. It's not quite to the same extreme as it was when you're president. You do get more say-so over what you're going to get to do, and your spouse gets it. Your kids don't. You know, and so if something really messed up wrong and I was president, Pacers fixing to go off, Colts, well, kind of off. He'll be off next year. They would get Secret Service protection. Does Ahmed still want to get my kids? Maybe, you know. So you can't say that. I did. Sorry. There's never been I don't know that we've had a Joe or a Steve blow up buildings. If that happens, I'm wrong. So anyway, I'll admit that. You get Secret Service. You do get a pension. What's a pension?
No,
You know what a pension is? It's like a retirement deal. You get a little money, and most presidents don't need it. But you know, if you've done that, I'm all fine with you. You need to be able to eat the rest of your life and do what you know. Go on a trip. Go on a trip, President. What's up?
when they send all the money into campaign and the election's over and they have leftover money, where does that go?
I don't know. Now, campaign money that was donated can't be spent on your stuff.
Yeah, over.
The only thing I've tried to look it up, I would think it would go back to like the political party because you couldn't give it back to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, you couldn't use that. Oh, just
They
you know,
probably
like
watch it just a little bit.
it's really strict. They might, but it's really strict how they handle
So
it.
like if you said yesterday yesterday with the 6%, and like if you're gonna lose and then you endorse whoever, do they give that the rest of their campaign money to them? Is their campaign to them?
I don't know if you could give it to them specifically because that was donated to your campaign. So I really don't know what happens. I know you can't spend it on just
You
stuff.
can spend it on commercials for them.
Maybe so. Maybe. I'm really, if anybody can figure that out, I'll give you $1. Maybe not today because I don't have $1 today. But if anybody can figure that out, what happens to campaign donations if you aren't run after you're not running anymore? I do have some change. Whoa! I have 90 cents. I might have a dime somewhere. All right. And we do have good health care. President does get good health care. You know, Congress doesn't have the Obamacare stuff that everybody else has. They voted themselves their own little deal in. Most times Congress passes different stuff for themselves than they do for everybody else. So somehow it's not good enough for them. I don't know how that works. How it's good enough for us, but not for them. It's weird.
It says, okay, donations to charities as long as candidate does not receive compensation for it. Donation a maximum of $2,000 to another federal candidate. Unlimited transfers to a local, state, or national political party. Transfer to future election campaign committee of the same candidate.
Okay.
So if Trump if he wanted to re-elect himself, he could send it, like, save it. But
Mostly goes to the party, or you could run again for something. Yeah, so it doesn't. I was right. Once again, I was right. Write that down. Let me see. We're going to jump up to something here. How long can a president be president?
8 years.
8 years is correct.
Who is president?
That's not the longest a person can be president though.
It was 3 or it was 12.
oh yeah,
Yeah, FDR. If Johnson could have been one of the longest running presidents for you to run again. If you serve more than half a term, that counts as a term. So if you're vice president and you take over with 3 years to go, that counts as one term. If you take over less than half a term, so a year and 11 months, you could run 2 more times.
I know.
Because less than half a term does not count. So you could run 9 plus, you could be president 9+ years if you're in the right situation. And Johnson took over with a year to go. He won 1 term and then chose not to run again. He could have served more than 8 years because he was vice president for a year. All right, jump down to number 11. This is the fun. Gotta get to the fun pretty quick. An executive order is like a law, but it does not go through Congress. The president can announce an executive order. I'm going to do this. And it doesn't go through Congress. Now, the Supreme Court could look at it and say that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. The president can't spend money. Congress has to, okay, spend the money. But the president can say, we're going to do this. Now, there's a schoolhouse rock over executive orders. That's what I've never seen.
We now return to a brand new episode of Schoolhouse Rock.
Boy, you really have to climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Say, what's that piece of paper doing here?
Oh, you mean me? I'll tell you who I am. I'm Bill. Yes, I'm only a Bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. But I know I'll be alone someday. At least I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a Bill.
Well, hold on. What kind of bill are you?
Well, I'm an administration bill. And one day the Republicans might create me so I could become a law.
And how does a bill become a law?
Funny you should ask. Well, first I go to the House and they vote on me. But then I need from the Senate a majority. And if I pass the legislative bill, then I wind up on the president's list. And I What you with it? My legs.
President Obama, what's the big idea? That bill's trying to become a law.
I realize that. But you know, son, There's actually an even easier way to get things done around here. It's called an executive order.
I'm an executive order, and I pretty much just happened. And that's it. Wait a second, don't you have to go through Congress at some point? Oh, that's adorable. You still think that's how government works?
Don't listen to him, son. Look at the midterm elections. People clearly don't want
That's the executive order.
Ethan Sternadale and Georgia Black, please come to the office. Ag students, you need to make your way to the front for the bus. Ms. Young will take you first and then pick up the kids that are out there already. If you're going to Ag, please make your way out front to the bus. Thank you.
Bye.
I was gonna, they're doing the assignment now, they ended up. Put an extra on something, I was getting that, I didn't know I could put it on themselves. So they know that. Oh, we're doing this, and sorry for the comfort, my job, and I well, guys, I just did it, and I run down my head for something, I knew what was happening. But then this one, so I'm tired, this was,
Wow. Fancy.
Y'all do anything anymore?
Work for other classes. Oh, you look cute, Desiree. Thanks.
Have you started the thing that Susan?
Yeah. I kind of figured out, there's one kid did our corporate time one.
Yeah, I was just about to put that one last night.